about the holidays and the candy that really gets me interested the most. But it's the Easter that really interests me out of all of them. Mostly because it's where these bad boys started. These are Reese's eggs. Very, very little chocolate, but mostly peanut butter. This is mostly what I really liked in the first place. And then they proceeded to make the small ones. Now, the small ones, they're pretty much the same. And they also got, you know, white chocolate, because apparently people like having white chocolate. And then, you know, about a year later, they got the big one right here, which probably wasn't too popular. And I think just recently, they came out with these basic flat shapes, as well as these. Oh yeah, and they also have the little treat things. Basically, giant eggs for kids to find. These things are usually pretty basic. You got the peanut butter all inside there. And see that there is a ton of peanut butter on the inside of these. Barely any chocolate. It makes them really interesting. Because, you know, the chocolate's not really the part that people want. These things, I imagine, are mostly chocolate. Because I remember getting the heart-shaped ones that are pretty much like this a while ago. Yeah, not a whole lot of peanut butter in those, really. Small ones are kind of just like for those who want more chocolate than peanut butter, which is just crazy because why would you get a Reese's that doesn't have any peanut butter in? Now, the mini ones and the white chocolate ones, they're pretty much the same exact as this big one right here. So, don't really need to examine it that much. But, the main part of this video is to show an example of what I believe is going to be my favorite type of Reese's eggs from now and ever on. For Easter, anyway. These particular eggs show themselves to be very different from any single Reese's that has existed in the history of mankind. Why is that? Ta-da! There is so much peanut butter inside these. Like, you can basically tell how much peanut butter is in here. And the package is not really a lie. There is a significant amount of peanut butter. And the interesting thing is that it's actually a little more fluid, a little more runny, not as solid as the ones as you have in, you know, the regular stuff and these mostly chocolate things. You can probably tell that I'm not really a big fan of the chocolate. It's mostly the peanut butter that people are after. Now I'm using a bread knife to get this one open because the peanut butterness is so thin and so runny that I'm afraid I might end up breaking it before I can get in. There's the brand spanking new peanut butter cup eggs. You can probably get an idea of how these things were filled up considering the bottoms are hollow. Not all of them are hollow, but most of them are. So, but for the most part, this is probably one of the more interesting types. Because I found the peanut butter in this one to be a little bit more fluid than the rest of the ones right here. Now I believe most people would be interested in seeing what the center of the big one would look like. Now frankly, I'm not going to eat all this or any of it really. I've already had my fill pretty much. But these things don't get bought anyway. Like every time I go to the store after Easter, they're always in the clearance aisle. They stay there forever. No one really eats them. Probably because I have an idea that there's too much chocolate in these. Would you look at that? Such an interesting imprint there. So, let's cut this thing open and see what's inside. I'm going to try to see if I can cut it like this, although I don't think that because of the way the thing is made it'll let me. But you never know. Certainly a lot easier cutting this with a bread knife than it is with the butcher's knife. Oh, yeah, getting down to that real heavy core there. Just barely cut it in half properly. Okay, so the thing is mostly intact. But I mean, if I went through the top from here, I'd probably break through a lot more. But yeah, because you can see, like, anyone who would nibble around the edge would most likely just be getting like a mouthful of chocolate and like hardly any peanut butter. So, what was the point in making this video? I'm glad you asked. I just wanted to see what was inside these. I compare the two. So, this, as far as I can tell, has the most peanut butter in it, although I don't think it tastes very well. Let me give it a shot. It's weird, there's something about the texture of the new ones that, or not the old ones, it just feels very off. It's probably what the regular cups taste like, but I can concur that if you want something that probably tastes like a little different, I think you should go for the eggs. 3D eggs. None of the flat halves and such. I mean, it looks nice, and I imagine they just figured out the technology for doing this. Not entirely sure. Oh yeah, you can see like the peanut butter starting to droop out a little bit. If I were to grade this, I would not include the big one, because it's pretty much for someone who just wants all hot chocolate at once. From worst to best, I think these are the absolute worst. They have so much chocolate and very little peanut butter. I mean, look at that. There's like no peanut butter at all. Oh, not these. The small ones, which are pretty much the same exact thing as that. They're just, for some reason, the texture is just a lot grainier. It's odd. To these things, which I used to think were the best, to what I believe is the absolute best Reese's Peanut Butter Cup in the world for Easter is these. Out of the, what, 5 shapes? So yeah, I realized that there are a lot of shapes this year. Something you need to know. So there are, I'm not going to count the white chocolates because they're basically the same shape as the regular ones, but okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got 5 shapes of eggs that are chocolate. I don't know if you would count this one. I mean, it's a Reese's egg, but it's not an actual peanut butter cup itself. It's just a plastic egg. I guess you could call it an Easter video. I recorded this like way ahead of time because, you know, brands like to distribute their festivities before St. Patrick's Day. Speaking of which, I hope you're all wearing green for St. Patrick's Day. Or have worn. Who knows? So yeah. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.